Number 2019082, Grants Office, and we'll hear from Ms. Carla Chasson. Sorry. Good evening, and thank you for having me tonight. This is the Grants Office presentation. So the mission of the Grants Office, we actively pursue grant funding and manage existing grant agreements for parish projects and programs. The Grants Office is staffed with 3 individuals, myself, Jessica Baudouin, and Nicole Baracco. And I did something a little different this year. I went ahead and plotted each of our grant projects based on the life cycle of the grant. There's 2 overall categories. The pre-award is in yellow and the post-award is in blue. And currently we have 14 projects that represent $17.2 million in grant funds that we've applied for or we're actively applying for. We have 108 projects that are in the post-award stage, and the total of those projects is $60 million in grant funding. We broke that down even further by each stage of the grant life cycle, and the first 2 stages I put them together. Project development and identifying funding, those are ongoing, and that's the actively pursuing part of our mission statement, and this category is a little hard to quantify. But things that we're always looking for funding for include the West Bank Hurricane Protection Levee, drainage projects, flood protection projects, residential elevation, recreation projects including the dog park, and water and sewer improvement projects. We have 4 projects, applications that we are currently working on. We have 7 proposals that have been submitted, and we are waiting to find out if they will be funded or not. 3 projects are in the award acceptance phase, and I'll be before you later on tonight to approve one of these to go on to the next phase, which is the project startup. We have 21 projects in that phase, and most of these are in design, are going through procurement, or under some form of grant agency review. The 21 includes 11 elevation projects that I'll go into a little more later on in the presentation. The Magnolia Ridge Levee project is in this category as well, and the procurement is nearly complete for that, with the construction contract also coming up a little later tonight. We have 37 projects that are ongoing and in the award management phase. The projects in this phase are usually under construction, but not all grant projects are construction projects. We have projects such as the Hazard Mitigation Plan Update and a number of FEMA public assistance projects that we are actively managing. We have a few grant projects in this category that are complete, but that's deliberate. Once a project is complete, sometimes we have funding remaining, and then sometimes we have a budget overrun. So we look at which projects we have in the same grant program and figure out where we can reallocate the money. And we do a budget amendment to request that those funds be moved, and then we get reimbursed when there's the overruns. So sometimes if there's funding left over, we also look at what other project expenses there are that we may be able to request the grant agency to cover and submit a request for that. This is a slow process, and it keeps us having a lot of projects on the book, but it's paid off where we've been able to get around $400,000 we would not have otherwise. So that funding can come to the parish instead of de-obligating it. We have 50 projects in the closeout phase, and almost half of these are FEMA grants. And while FEMA has been a great partner to St. Charles Parish, and we were able to get a lot of mitigation projects completed, their strong suit is not closeout. The oldest projects on the books began in 2008. It was finished in 2009, and we submitted closeout documentation back then, and we're still waiting on that closeout letter. I periodically ask for an update from the state, but ultimately it's still in closeout. And this isn't really unusual. Grant timelines can range from as quickly as 30 days, from application to closeout, to decades. Recently, I was told that we have to report on a project for 50 years. So good luck. I'd have to say on average, it's about 6 to 7 years with closeout taking the longest. So putting some numbers together, in 2018, we received over $8 million in grant funds for 35 projects. We broke that down into 3 categories between competitive, allocated, and public assistance. 76% of those funds were competitive projects, meaning our applications went into a pool of applicants and our projects came out on top. So allocated means that the grant agency approached us and said, hey, we have X amount of dollars for St. Charles Parish for this type of project, and you can apply for that. So that was 2018. And in 2019, we've received $6.7 million for 6 projects, with 98% of that being competitive funding. So I tried to put together some numbers for the award management side. In 2018, there was a total of $6.8 million requested for reimbursement for 21 projects. A lot of people think that when we are awarded funds, we actually get the money, but we don't. We have to spend the money and request reimbursement. And notable projects that we received this $6 million on is the 3 West Bank Hurricane Protection Levee projects and the Kelowna Force Main Extension project. And pictured here is the Ellington Levee Phase 2 project, and it's currently under construction. So in 2019, we requested $2.6 million for 9 projects. A lot of West Bank Hurricane Protection Levee constructions going on. This photo here is the Magnolia Ridge Pump Station project. We also do other activities such as requests for proposals. We had one for the Hazard Mitigation Plan update and one for the Elevations program. We put together the schedule of federal awards that goes into the financial audit every year. We conducted Davis-Bacon monitoring for 4 projects. We do amendment requests, extension requests when sometimes the grant expires before the project will be completed. We have to submit justifications as to why we need more time. And we also get audited from time to time, where the grant agencies come to take a look at our files to ensure we've complied with all the grant requirements. So I have some pictures of the projects that have been completed since the last presentation, and this one is the first phase of Ellington Levee. We got $7.2 million, and that fully funded that project. And that was from CPRA, from some surplus funding they had. The Kelowna Force Main Extension had 2 awards, where we had a LCDBG award from HUD and EPA. Total of those was $798,000, and that almost covered the whole project. The Mimosa Avenue Culvert Replacement Project was 100% funded, and that was FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program dollars. This was some projects we completed for our water infrastructure, and this was allocated funding through the state's Community Water Enrichment Fund program. We also had Entergy participate in our trash bash, where they gave us funding to purchase iPads to incentivize people to participate. We received funding from USDA to rehabilitate 9 residential properties, and we elevated 1 residential property with some FEMA hazard mitigation funding. And I do want to talk about the Elevations program. Our office manages that, and I'm trying to revamp this program to increase the rate of houses that get an award and that actually elevate. It's a voluntary program that sparks a lot of interest in initial buy-in, but for various reasons, homeowners opt out and we lose out on the grant funds. So the way it works, when we get a new award, all of the homeowners in that award are invited to a kickoff meeting where we go over the program, what's eligible, what's not eligible, and the numerous documents that are required. But this year I had a different idea for the kickoff meeting, and we brought in elevation contractors and had them set up expo styles for the homeowners to be able to set up site visits and get quotes and ask specific questions about their project. We received great feedback for this event, and one contractor even said that this was the standard to set. So I'm happy to say that meeting was held on May 1st, and the project manager has reported that all 11 homeowners in this award have turned in their quotes and selected a contractor. So we're still not into construction yet. There's still a lot of document review, but that's the most activity we've seen in a while. And I did want to give a little bit of information on the elevations program because we get a lot of calls. So I'm guessing that you guys get a lot of calls. So in order to be eligible for the program, the property must be designated by the NFIP as repetitive loss or severe repetitive loss. The parish must apply for the funding. We don't just have a pot of funding for people to use. The homeowner has to provide the cost share and match funding, and it's a competitive application process. They have to pass a benefit cost analysis, and it also takes a very long time. The application itself can take up to 3 years for approval, and additional 1 to 2 years before the construction can even begin. So we had a couple special achievements in the grants office in the last year. The Edward A. Dufferin Community Center was recognized on the national level by the Council of State Community Development Agencies, and it received the Sterling Achievement Award for Community Development. And I also graduated from the New Orleans Regional Leadership Institute, and I joined the Snooki Fauché and a few other parish employees who have gone through the program. And that concludes my report, so if you have any questions, I'll take those now.
Thank you, Ms. Chasson. We've got a question from Councilman Bellick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Chasson, how do you select the participants for the USDA Housing Preservation Grant Program?
So I do not select those. That actually goes through Ms. Joan Diaz's department, and she can give you more information. For that program, I'll be up here later on to talk about it, but right now we have out the draft of the application that's available for public review, and it does talk about that. I want to say that Ms. Joan puts together a public notice that goes out and people apply, and it's based on first come, first serve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Chasson, just had a question because I know District 1 years back, we were fortunate enough to get some monies that was not spent from a grant for something at the courthouse, and we was able to use it in Kelowna. So how do you, if you have money that you don't spend, but you don't want to re-obligate it, is that something somebody with the administration, I mean, I like to let you know, I mean, we may not get the grant that's submitted initially, but if there's some monies left over that could be used in a district that meet that criteria, because I mean, I've been fortunate enough to get it before, so if I don't get it initially, but that's something that's going to be sent back, but there's a criteria that's met, whether it's my district or another district, how do you go about selecting how to redirect that money?
It depends. It's a lot of different things that go into it. First off is going to be the timing, what the grant program requires, what projects are eligible and what's not eligible. None of the projects that we select are based on anything to do with any of the districts. It's based on which project do we think has the best chance of getting funded. And as far as the reallocating, in that case, I know what you're talking about. I don't know who made that call, but it would be me saying, hey, we have this money left over for this type of project, and we would talk to each of Parish President Larry Cochran and any of the project managers to see where do we think it needs to go best.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I want to say thank you. I know you highlighted the Ellington Reach Phase 1, $7.2 million is a whole lot of money to harness. And, you know, what you do is help us maintain a competitive edge because we're truly competing amongst other people for this money. So you help play, definitely play a part in that. And that was a huge win for us with CPRA. I just also wanted to let you know, you mentioned the elevation program. One of the flood bills that's actually in progress right now on the federal level addresses compliance, mitigation, and they're hoping to encourage elevating homes by trying to offset some of the cost for the homeowner. So it's actually going to address that.
Yes, there is coverage on flood insurance for that ICC coverage will pay for the local share that the homeowners have to cover for their grant project.
We're trying to increase, what we've asked for on the federal level through NACO and some other lobbying efforts is to raise the amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did see that they were proposing to raise it to 60,000.
We asked for 200.
Then we wouldn't need the elevations program. Unless we started having to go up higher, then, most of these elevations are less than 5 feet. And, a lot of these people don't qualify for the ICC, and that's, I think, a part of the reason that we have some people withdraw, because having to come up with 30 to 40,000 is rough.
It is.
On a homeowner. And, if they increase it, that would be a great thing for the program.
Yeah. And we're not, the program's federal program, so it's supposed to address the whole country. The cost to raise homes in other places can be higher, and the elevation is going to be more than 5 feet in some places. So
Yes.
across the board,
Yes.
we're hoping for a higher number, so that might help you out.
Thanks.
But thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Ms. Chasson? All right, thank you so much.